Hi, today I'm going to explain about our group project for CSIT314. Our group project consists of 7 members. I myself, Ivan, Peter, Dizu, Arwa, Liam, Kyle, and Chendi. First of all, I'm going to explain about the application. So this is the application called Hotel Booking App. The Hotel Booking App has its own login features and everything. So this app is connected to a server database. So for example, if I show tables, there's multiple stuff here from user. There's a class of users, and we can log in. And basically in this application, we can create a booking. We generate an ENV and already can compile this app. After about our application, we're gonna discuss about how to do our team coordinate. So our team coordinate with 2 things. First is using GitHub project. So this project is a Kanban board that shows how do we divide it. So for example, here we are assigning Arwa to user profile, this is to booking confirmation, Kyle to test utilities, and so on and so on. Lastly, we're going to explain about our testing mechanism. So our testing mechanism mainly using GitHub Actions. This GitHub Actions run Maven. So in this Maven, we're running it through here. So we are using Maven tasks, which Maven interacts with JUnit on the task folder. So if we can show you here, task folder. Okay. So in the task folder, for example, there's booking area tasks. We're simulating a new class called booking area and getting each of the files here. It's unique identifier, and those identifier will return an object. Those objects can be tested. Then if the test is complete, it should show as successful. We're coordinating stuff with the pull request here. This is just show here. So if we show all checks, there's 1 pull request CI/CD. And if we show the details, there's multiple steps. In the build with Maven, it's gonna compile this app using Maven. After compilation, it's gonna create an artifacts. Then it's gonna do all the tests. So in each test, it's currently have around 21 tests, if I'm not mistaken. There's a bunch of tests that we've done. This test tests all the functionalities from all different files. Some of them interacts with the DB, some of them doesn't. So for example, in our system here, in the app test app and login test Java, there's usually 5 types of test cases. One is testing whether the component exists. Here we're getting the text file, the child name of JText with 1. This is getting the object from the login. So then we can test it, whether this file actually exists when we run the JSuite. And also we're testing the login button to do a click. If it's successful, it should be able to do a login. Also, we're testing a button, register button, and also we're also testing for a login using its function. So we're generating random cases. And afterwards, after the generation of random cases, we're testing it we insert it to the DB and compare it using the validation of the login. So and then we can validate whether the username and password are true or not. And then we clear all the data. For field login test cases, same thing, generating both password, although we didn't do an insert case here, unlike the true login. This should be implemented across our test cases, except for util tests and test application, because test application, we don't really have anything to test in here because this is just for simple test cases for test. And we have a helping class called test details. This test details help us to get each components of the JUnit from JSwing, so we can get those components and compile them. And when we get compiled everything, we can, for example, run login and get its components, and we can test those components through this functions. That's about it.
Okay, so in this assignment, I was in charge of testing the utilities class in the hotel booking app. The first test is the test convert date, which tests the convert date function in the utilities class. The convert date function takes a Java date object and converts it into an SQL date object. So what this function does is it generates a random date, Java date, passes it to the convert date function, stores the result. It then checks that the result from the convert date function is equal to the random date that was generated converted to an SQL date. The next test is the test get date difference, which tests the output of the get date difference function in the utilities class, which outputs the difference in days between two dates. So what this function does is it generates two random dates, and then it calculates a difference in milliseconds between these two dates, and then converts the difference in milliseconds into days using this equation. It then passes those random dates to the get date difference function and stores the result. It then checks that the two results are equal, the result from the get date difference function and the difference in days calculated here. Okay, so for our final test, we have the test check availability, which is testing the check availability function within the utilities class. It starts by inserting dummy data into the booking information table in the database, and then generates two random dates to check the availabilities for. Then queries the database for all the current bookings for a particular hotel, which is randomly generated between 1 and 25. It also gets from the database the total number of rooms for that particular hotel. Then it calculates, using these four cases, the number of rooms that are booked out for a particular day over the date range that we are testing with. And then it will calculate the total number of rooms that are available for that particular hotel with the date range that we are testing with. It then provides the check availability function within the utilities class the same test data that we were testing with and stores the result. It then compares the result from the check availability function with the result that this function calculated of the total number of rooms available over the given date range. And then it finishes by deleting all the dummy data that was inserted at the start of this function. Then we'll test and show you the outputs. And that's it. All 3 tests have passed.
So for my part of the assignment, I was in charge of testing the booking area Java. We decided to use JUnit as a test oracle to test this unit. We used set components name, and that's to get all of the GUI units from the actual code into the booking area test class. We then initialize all of the units. We will then execute all of the tests that I've inserted so that data is automatically generated, and then we can test that it's created successfully. So this would help with auto integration. For the first test, we did test max price, and this was to test a random variable for the price slider. So I'd create a visible frame and then insert the slider. I would then create a random price, and then between 99,000 and 50, and then set the value of the slider to that price, and then assert that it is not null, and that it equals the price that was randomly generated. And then if it passed, it would just print that it's done successfully. For test city selection, I'd create a frame, would then insert all the cities into the JCombo box. The combo box would then be randomly selected which city it was, with the limit being how many cities were in the box. We then set the selected city to the random city, and then we'll assert that it's not null, and then it would assert that it is true that the city selected is the random city. This here is just to get the city list, which inserts the results into an array list from an SQL database. In the next one, we have checkbox checked. Here, we'll just insert all of the checkboxes from the GUI. I'll set them all selected true. I would make sure none of them come up as null, and then I would make sure that it assert true that they are all selected. And for the last one, we were just testing that the table updates the listing properly. So once we have our username, frame, and cities inserted, we can then do, after the random city is selected, it'll then print out a result set and fill out the table model based on the results. And then it'll recursively add these cities to the table. If this weren't the case, then the table would be null if this failed, so I just did assert not null for the table. Alright, thank you.